Welcome back to some more frolics and feasts with friends, if not many miles below the surface of a dungeon. And, well, I'm not exactly sure where they are at the minute. Having a fun time in the memory of a kingdom, a civilization that was trapped beyond their will. Yeah, if I couldn't taste food anymore, a lot of my sole purpose for living would be extinguished as well. But if this is a little realm kept alive in perpetuity in the history of the kingdom by the Mad Magician, I don't suppose that he'd be too far off. He'd like to make sure that everything is fine in his little utopia, right? I hope I'm wrong about that. So, let's see what they can cook up today with limited ingredients. Or not so if they're just given a feast every time. But let's adventure a little bit more in Dungeon Meshi. Now, with us being made aware of the elves, the plot to make sure that the dungeon doesn't overrun and cause further damage, holding them at bay to make sure there's no unnecessary loss of life while these lot just continue their little I'm not sure, lunch stroll. But I do, one thing that I go back and forth between is the fact, we've got this deadly plot line, rescue the sister before she's digested by a dragon. Didn't exactly work out very well. They were a bit late on that, but now it's a case of try and make sure she doesn't cause any more damage, and if you can, separate her from the body of a beast, whether or not the souls are intertwined, like scrambled eggs. And yet they're just having a fun time. Just quite lax, really. Chilchuk doesn't look like he's having the best of nights. Pancakes? Of course he would be there. Some early morning cooking, and not only that, but maybe a lesson or two to the denizens of this place. See if they can bring back a bit of the joy of eating. Well, even so, the texture itself you'd be able to feel, and it's pretty pleasant in of itself. So you just got to work it and make sure it. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sense of taste, it can atrophy, but what do I know? I shouldn't doubt Senshi. I know you can. Your sense of taste can change. That's why your preferences in food can change. As a jester. I mean, if at any other point would seem a bit out of place to have some backstory exposition, but coming from the prince, was that what this character was? Makes sense a lot, actually. Can you really have a dialogue How many... There we go. How many were punished just for aiding? And yet they didn't see any of them arrive into the village. I mean, they're only wearing a few straw hats and whatnot as a disguise. I do like it's being built up as there's this lunatic magician who is unable to be reasoned with. And Elsie's like, yeah, but maybe we can. And if there is, big bad evil guy that that is just going to be talked out of their plots and everything. Once again, it would be a nice subversion of expectations while not going on in this. Was it like a steep slope down? I mean, they made it this far at least, so... Greetings. A few lost travellers. I'm guessing that, yeah, their presence wasn't unknown. They're just waiting for them to leave so they can gather some more information on the topic. Huh. Dwarven architecture defying compasses and magnetism. Did he get teleport sickness before? Or was he not? Back to your senses. But the memories of what transpired, yeah, they weren't removed. Just now has a bit more understanding. Yeah, they're like runic inscriptions. Okay. Why wouldn't he know something like this? Oh, that's actually useful. Yeah, rather than drawing them and getting an approximation, make a charcoal impression kind of thing. Oh? I mean, they're big fucking tracks and feathers as well. Yeah, that definitely looks more like a griffin. Why did he just balk at the idea of a griffin? Essentially, is acting very strange. I'm guessing he has a very strong history with this place and maybe even that griffin. Maybe possibly even the reason why he separated off and is now living by himself. Convincing. Never met? Are you entirely sure about that? That was a pretty fast strike, and good thing for a keen sense of smell and some strong eyes. She doesn't particularly seem to care too much about griffins, whereas essentially seems to be rooted in not rooted in terror, but yeah, if he has been broken and routed like that, there's not much that can be done. I really like the soundtrack to this. Sets the scene for a proper battle and everything. Proper fight or flight response. Up? Maybe? Yeah, he wouldn't be able to fight back if he was unarmed and everything. Any way of tracking him? Okay. Is it something that she's done before? Okay. Take control over living beings. Okay. I mean, I like the visual aids. It helps me understand exactly what was meant there, but do we, much like the revivification magic, need a lot of materials to... Impromptu haircut. I know she changes her hair a lot, but didn't think she should just cut it like that. The more the merrier, I think. Yeah, just bring everything. What can she create with such a feast? Yep, maybe leave her to actually work it out first. I mean, they've got nothing else to do, I guess. So yeah, now might be the time to branch out and explain. I mean, it's not likely that he was there for a long time. You know, where he came from, why he lives in the dungeon, why he's so fervent about not damaging the equilibrium of the place. And of course, yeah, timelines don't exactly add up. I think the last bit is just because, you know, he probably hasn't met that many half men around. Well, given enough time. But we know, A, that he's been down here living and foraging from the dungeon for a while. So he might be just a bit hard to communicate with. But you know, if he's been down here for 10 years, whether or not that is actually accurate or not, it has a few cool cool elements to it. Like, did he break into the dungeon somehow? Get teleported in before it was revealed to the surface? Is he a denizen of the dungeon itself? Is red a cooked crab? And turned out well? I like how dismissive and disgusted he is of it. Oh, a shared senses kind of element. I must admire her strive for knowledge and magic in aspects, but I mean, yeah, if she's got to control flying and walking, this is very quite interesting. I mean, the shifting and wiggling that she's... If it works, it works. I mean, she's flying after all, so at least she doesn't have to flap. Nest, that would make sense. Has it been kept for later? It's a very persistent fly. Why does she have a beak? Has she just experienced death? Well, good thing there's at least 2 more. But maybe don't, rest on Senshi's head when there's a big beast like that who can lash out. You can sculpt it? Move fast? Sure. I don't want to see that movement of his arms much longer. But yeah, remodeling it as though it was clay. First we had I'm not even sure you can call it a bird, but considering his level of expertise and how much he likes monsters and how much he's observed them, that would make sense. She's being one with the beast. Can she adjust and slip through the claws? The problem is, it's just a battle of endurance and agility. No, she cannot. Can she escape? A chance to craft his own creature. Create an element of double-headed dragon. Okay, put his knowledge down. Is just a bit of like middle school fantasy of creating a fun beast. His double-headed dragon. No. Considering she let him take over, had that moment where she understood how to bring out the best of the creature, and now putting it to use herself. So, I mean, streamlined. I mean, it doesn't have scales or horns or anything. At least she doesn't have to flap anymore. She's trying her best. And it won't have very much offensive capabilities, but just sheer speed might help it out. Oh? Actually, success! Is it going to be a case of it was a one-time attack? It killed itself on the wing. I really do like how Laos just jumped into action immediately, drew his sword, and ran in. Yeah, Griffin's down, by the way. Nothing you have to be too scared of. Ah. Can she use revival magic on her own little familiar creation? He did his duty admirably. Didn't even wait for her to process the loss. I mean, it did save them in their matter of in the moment of danger. I mean, will she be too against it though if it is vegetables and everything that is processed into this form? I'm not sure about the folded wings, but the rest of it seems fine. I've got no issue with. Sky, I have issue with those chips, but sure, let's go with it. And since it's all packed together, they can't exactly pull it apart. Summoning magic is useful in cooking. True, there was a massive pan. Okay, that helps. What, we'll leave it where it is? Not like him to waste ingredients or anything. He knows what's coming. But he's only about 10 years old himself. How is that? Is this... Maybe he's just trying to escape his family. Wife and daughters, plural. They really don't know anything about each other, do they? He's gonna die. Are we going to get like a Mines of Moria backstory kind of thing going on? Okay. I mean, what would have survived in a cave or something like? So they broke into the dungeon through a hole in the wall. Is this what we're... Yes. Remember when it was said that the dungeon was coated in gold? Before it was picked clean? So the presence of the griffin and his terror of it opening up a bit of childhood trauma that happened when him and his crew probably met up with a quite dangerous specimen. And considering he's now, living in the dungeon alone, are we going to backtrack, find the place of the battle and the loss of the miners? Not that many episodes left, so you really got to evaluate what you want to focus on. The elves, Senshi's backstory, Farlin, Izumi. Anything and everything all at once. But I really do appreciate, obviously it's setting things up for further on and maybe another season and one on down the line, or etc., etc. But there is so much going on in the dungeon and above it and the world at large with the various races and whatnot. It could have came a bit sooner, getting to know one or two of the party members a little better. But at the same time, having that level of not distrust, just unknowing about one another, it does feel organic because they're just on a little quest, on an adventure. They weren't exactly having heart-to-hearts every night. They don't know each other all too well, nor would you really want to if there is a chance of life and death around every corner. Maseo went on just being completely dumbstruck that Chiltruck would be able to not only have a wife and kids, but not piss them off to the point where they would stay. Although, yes, he has not seen them for several years, I'm not going to question why that is, or whose fault it may be. But magic is a magnificent thing here in the dungeon, and when Maseo can take the very basics of it, this summoning magic and whatnot, and not only make use of it, but also refine, add to, and increase her own understanding and skill to the point of being able to take down a griffin with a skyfish, a vegetable skyfish. But much like everything else that we've seen, there is a layer of coziness and a layer of fun to be had in this dungeon. But the idea of Senji having this tragic backstory, his entire mining party and whatnot wiped out, possibly in front of his very eyes, or maybe much like we saw here, he came across the beast that he didn't know existed, couldn't deal with, and ran, leaving them behind. And if that's the case, not knowing what may have happened on his journeys, maybe he did find a trace or two, although if he never came back down to this level, that would explain a lot. I'm in two minds. Do you want to go back to the scene of PTSD and trauma? Maybe get some closure? All I really know is that everyone in that fancy little frozen in time village is in trouble. The magician not exactly all too thrilled with the idea that they're talking to outsiders, let alone the outsiders that are so troublesome, meddling in everything that has been going on recently. If I was part of a dungeon exploration team, I would want to mark my way of where I've been, whether it be, map, chalk, and whatnot. But for dwarves, carving directions into massive pillars, that makes so much sense. They are kind of underground craftsmen, after all. I want to watch the next one now. If I have entertained you, please let me know. Leave a like and a comment down below. Consider subscribing to the channel. Maybe even jumping onto my Discord so you don't miss out future uploads and notifications and polls whenever they come out. But for now, I'm not going to waste any more time. So, grab a drink. No. So, get some rest. Enjoy your food. Share your respects to the high and mighty sky fish. And I'll see you in the next one.